Batman Noel, written and illustrated by Bermejo, read by a full cast, Part 3.
You ever have that dream where you're falling, and it really feels like you're falling? And when you wake yourself up, you can still feel the gravity pulling you down? You ever wonder what'll happen if you don't wake yourself up? Is that the dream telling your mind that you're dying for real? See, I got a theory about this third visitor. My old man painted the guy out to be the scariest thing you'd ever laid your eyes on. Black cloak, face always covered in shadow, blah blah blah. Now Pop loved to take a bit of creative license with things. He had what Ma liked to call a subjective relationship with the truth. He also loved to talk. Hell, he talked so much that all the characters in his stories blabbed about as much as he did. What never sat right with me about this last part of the story was the fact that the last visitor never once spoke a word to Scrooge. I mean, call me cautious, but if it was me, and some evil-looking cat showed up out of nowhere, points his finger at a creepy cemetery, and I follow him inside, I'd have to be off my meds. It's like those stupid kids in the horror movies who always open up the closed door to look inside like they're not expecting some chainsaw-wielding maniac to try and chop them in two. No thanks. It's going to take one charming spirit of death with a silver tongue to convince me to follow him into a grave. Not some freaky faceless mute. That's when I realized there was no third visitor. Some people start hallucinating when they're about to die. In my book, if you're chasing beautiful women across rooftops and flying around with big, colorful men that glow, something's rotten in Denmark. Let's face it, Scrooge wasn't exactly a spring chicken. And aside from the years, we're talking about a guy with some serious anger management and stress issues. Even the heartless can have a heart attack, right? Something, not someone, came knocking that night. Old Scroogey was falling in his dream, and he wasn't waking up. I think everybody wants to believe they'll be remembered after they've checked out. I always think everybody likes to believe life can't go on without him. But that just ain't the truth. No way to stop the future.
Scum! You people never cease to amaze me!
Jesus, no! You're gonna kill me! You're too young to be thinking about this kind of stuff now, but trust me, most men want to leave the world a better place than they found it.
Then I'll only be decreasing the surplus criminal population!
No, please, I gotta kill.
Justice comes at a price!
They want to feel like they've made a difference. Been somebody. Everybody wants to be a Cadillac. Nobody wants to be the old junker. All Scrooge's life, he probably thought he was a caddy. Great paint job, powerful engine, smooth ride. I think when all was said and done, when it came down to the 0 hour, old Scroogey knew he would be remembered as the junker. You know, the one that used to break down on you all the time. You'd never forget what a pain in the neck it was. People don't remember that car when it was brand spanking new. They just remember having to jump-start it every day. Scrooge had lived his life as a man who could turn on you at any moment, leave you stranded or hurt. The type of man that people only feared. Feared that he'd break down on them again. I think as those clammy hands pushed down on Scrooge's chest, he thought about the future for the first time, and realized the only legacy he would leave behind was pain.
I hereby sentence you to a term no less than 30 years to be served in Gotham State Penitentiary without the possibility of parole.
Anybody who'd ever tried to get close to him was punished for it. Why should they care if he bit the dust? Why would it make any difference to them at all, if they made no difference to him in the end?
This fine painting by Sir Montgomery Woodkin, 1870. 1974, titled Summer in Venice. Valued at $70,000, we start the bidding at $40,000. Do we have $40,000? Yes? Wonderful. How about $42,000?
He would die,
Yes.
and his big, expensive house full of stuff would be empty and cold. No friends left to care that he was gone. No one to miss him or mourn him. They say you're born alone, and you can die alone. Even if that's true, would you want it to be? If you had the chance to change, to get it right, would you fight for it?
He died boring, predictable, and no one loved him.
Sometimes it takes dying to teach a fella how to live. In Scrooge's case, it took a real doozy of a night to make him realize this. You can call it a near-death experience. I call it a wake-up call. His clock was ticking, and if he was going to get the message, he would need to listen up quick.
Santa? That you?
See, with some guys, all you need to do is whisper in their ear. Other guys, and old Scrooge was definitely one of the other guys. They need to be hit upside the head with a baseball bat.
Ho, ho, ho!
That night, Scrooge got it, and got it good.
I know, you're expecting the big guy in red. If it's all the same, though, I have a bag of presents, too. What do you say, big guy? Want to know what I got here for you and your old man? Let's see. Ooh, this is a good one. Ever play Clue? I love that game. Colonel Mustard, what a name. So what say we play a little...
Daddy?
Yeah, get your old man out here. He should play too. he knows all about mysteries. I want him to solve the mystery of my missing moolah.
It wasn't just a new perspective on things. It was a second chance. A chance to make things right. To be the good guy for once.
Ha! Come out, Bobby. This game sucks with just two people. What do you want, kiddo? Maybe I'll give the little guy here the lead pipe. He can be Miss Scarlet.
Don't you touch my son!
Ooh, come on, Bobby boy. You know there's no baseball bat in Clue. Play fair! How are we ever going to solve the mystery of my missing money if you're missing half your face?
Stop, mister, please.
When my old man told me the story, he said that Scroogey finally grew a conscience. He didn't want the people around him to suffer because of the mistakes he'd made in his life. I like to think there were larger forces at work, though.
Question. Who killed Bob?
Please, I panicked. The Batman was there, I
win. I killed Bob in the kitchen with the revolver.
No, please, no. I believe a man can change. But change is such a powerful thing, such a big idea, that I gotta believe that there's more to it than just making a choice. See, outside forces have to come into play. Something elemental. It wasn't just the fear of dying, it was the hope that he could have a better death. You gotta make the leap. Take the chance that you'll fail. But go down trying anyway. After a lifetime of hurting and bullying people, making people afraid of him, old Scrooge had the chance to make sure that when he finally did check out, when all was said and done, You want to threaten me? You want to threaten my son? Now who's the clown, huh? Now who wants to play games? When all was said and done, people would remember that he had had the chance to die the villain, but went out the hero.
Ooh, Bobby boy. Now that's the way to do it.
Why don't I show you how to play?
Come on, show me.
I will.
Show me.
I will!
Yeah, let her rip.
No! You are not a criminal. Show your son the kind of man you are. Show him what a hero is.
Boring. Neither of you know how to have a good time.
Trouble is, realizing this stuff's only the first step. If you want to walk the walk. Well, you know how the rest of it goes. Old Scroogey was lucky to wake up the next morning, and he knew it. He felt like he'd just gotten out of the joint after a long stint, like a free man. There were people to see, things to do, promises to be made and kept. And like an old con, he wanted to do it all the first day. The first person on his list was Bob. He figured it was only right. After all, he had always treated the poor guy like dirt. Today, though, he figured it was high time to pay him back. A raise, benefits, PTO, 401k, the works. Scrooge made the rounds that day. Old friends, business associates, pretty much anybody whose life he'd previously made miserable. He wanted to show him. Be the guy who could set things straight. The guy they could depend on. Most of them were shocked at this new Scrooge that they were seeing. Like I told you, at the beginning, change ain't easy to believe in. But I guess it's easier to swallow than 3 ghosts. My old man says that he likes the story so much because it had a happy ending. He said in real life, happy endings are like unicorns. I asked him if he believed that it was true, or if he thought that it was just some yarn someone made up to get their kids to fall asleep. And he told me it didn't really matter if it was true. It was what the story meant that was so important. I don't know, kiddo. What do you think? What's the moral of this story?